St. James perspective.
The majority of people are disenfranchised on a level that's pretty high.
Unprecedented level, I think.
If you interviewed pretty much anybody that pays taxes, so like anyone over 25, you know what I mean? Because I think you probably aren't disenfranchised until you've been in it for a few years. You know, I think at 18 or 19, I was probably still socialism could work, or, you know, communism was a great idea. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I don't know.
No, I totally know what you're saying. I was there,
but
too.
But, like, you know, when you're a kid, you think, oh, man, can't we just all live in peace? Yeah, why can't we all live in peace? Yeah, right. We should be able to live in peace. You know what I mean? But then you realize, okay, there's like 50 levels of insanity that are going to prevent that. So how can we live with liberty and freedom? Then becomes, you know, that's like the second tier.
That is the progression, by the way. That's the progression. You go from utopian to let's just have freedom. That's how you should transition as an adult.
If you interviewed, it has to be 75% of the people. If they're paying taxes and they're in the system, they want out of the system. This whole thing is jacked. I want to get off the ride.
What I think is encouraging on some level, at least, in my lifetime and in your lifetime, we're the same age, it has never been this up in the air by way of like how people see politics. You know how you and I were at CPAC and we saw behind the Wizard of Oz guy, and ever since then, you know, we're like, this is just plastic banana crazy. Well, I think like that's what people think. Like I think people really truly think that this time, and for that reason, it's like your guess is as good as mine as to what comes out. I get a kick out of this, Tim. You have all these guys like the Robes and the guys on TV, and they're out there, and it's like they've just been refuted like the last 50 times. Literally, the last 50 times they've been on television, what they told me was going to happen didn't happen, and they're still on television, like making the next prediction, as if they have any authority or credibility. And that's like a microcosm analogy for what's going on in the country. Like real people, they threw the book out, and they're just, who cares at this point? Who's sick of all these clowns? I think that's actually potentially, at least. Now, it's a roll of the dice, but it's potentially good. It could potentially be good, but it could potentially be
yeah, well, I think that the problem is if you get if Bernie Sanders wins, so no one in any establishment on any side wants that guy to win. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like left, right. No that's right. Because he wants what he wants, and it isn't really what the left wants, and it really isn't.
Right,
what the right
exactly.
The somewhat problem is that we end up in a Greece situation. So look how Greece has gone on now for the last 3 years in Greece. It's like it's still going on, you know. Somehow,
but who's our Germany though, Tim? Like who's our Germany? Yeah. Who's the guy who carries the water for us?
You know, there's no precedent for there's precedence for something like Japan or something like Kosovo or Greece or really even Spain or France. But when you get to United States size, or I think it probably looks like Russia, which was really, really bad. Which is like several million people starved to death. Maybe or maybe not. I mean, it's like it.
Well, I'll give you that. It is tough.
It could be the thing where maybe charity of man wins out.
What you're stabbing at is kind of interesting. What you're stabbing at least I think what you're stabbing at, is what we get there, even if it goes super bad, is reset. But we get there.
A reset, yeah.
But because a reset at least means self-correction. So if we have a fraction break in our leg, the Bernie Sanders administration, he at the worst case scenario, he just snaps that puppy in half. Now let me ask you a question: does that same scenario hold true with the other end, which I think would in this case have to be somebody like Trump, who's way out on his own, clearly just doing his own thing and reinventing the wheel?
Well, Trump, I think, when I think of Trump as the theory, so in other words, Trump, the successful businessman who really just wants to make America great again, and comes out of nowhere and wins, and then does the things to make America great again. If all those things happen, could that be awesome? Yes.
Yes.
Do I think that it's more likely that he's going to get elected? There's going to be people that just try to subvert his success, much in the same way that they did when Schwarzenegger was elected as governor in California.
Right.
with the added insanity of Trump is not going to be humiliated, and so what is he gonna do? You know what I mean?
It's a WWE showdown, but with like all our pocketbooks on the line. It's like
someone's getting punched, some missiles getting launched, something. Because if you think of his crazy reactions to like when someone insults him, like Rosie O'Donnell or whoever, his reaction is to completely
just scorched earth, you know what I mean? Just straight to the jugular.
So when Putin comes out and is like, you got the ugliest from Russia, and and like you got a small penis, immediately all the buttons are pushed. You know what I mean?
I think like that's kind of like the overall kind of feeling on the guy. But the only thing that makes me feel like a little better is, and you actually have a lot more insight into this than I do because you're a successful businessman. The interesting thing when I think about him, though, is could he been this successful financially if he actually made decisions like that? Now, I have no way of knowing what the answer is because he does appear to be a firecracker. Is the way he works his business, does he put like trigger safety around him? Like in other words, does he have a couple calm people around him where like even though he goes off the deep end, the guy doesn't pull the trigger because he's got like, because how do you have a successful business if you're like, scorched earth all the time? You know what I mean? Like, how do you?
I don't know.
You know what I mean? What do you think? You're a business guy. Like, how did he build that? I mean, there's no denying the fact that this guy has found a way.
I think he's a crazy screwed businessman, and I think that I appreciate that about him. And that whole aspect of Make America Great Again, I think on a business front, if you took out the problem is politics is so freaking shady. Can you even quantify the level of things that people would be willing to do to sort of make him look like a fool and to
right. You're right about that
even
level. It is a different animal. But you're a businessman. Business is also pretty crazy out there. I mean, it's like people will slit your throat in a second. So, I mean, there are some crossovers to business and politics. I think you got to be shrewd. I think you got to be savvy. I think you got to see the angles.
I'm probably telling him.
I actually don't know. I'm actually asking you because you have experience in a competitive market. Like, do you think? I guess what my point is do you think there's enough crossover?
Do you think you can be as crazy as I think he is, and be successful? Yeah, I do, because I know a lot of those qualities that sort of make a good businessman are your willingness to completely grenade one business and go on to the next because you believe in yourself to that level.
Yep.
I'm gonna hit the reset button on this, and I'm gonna start from the ground up because I know that I'm Donald Trump and I can do it. I can go from $10 billion to zero and then back to
which is so interesting to hear you say that because as your friend, you got a lot of those qualities about you. Like you really do. You have a lot of those qualities where, like the difference.
Well, I know. You think about, I can go scorched earth, and I have gone scorched earth. I think most of those things are things that help build a country and help be awesome, help make America great again. and what's this thing about, everyone's talking about how ridiculous his wall is and all this other stuff. Look, we need to get immigration under control. Like you can. Whatever
no doubt.
10 million people a year legally. Yeah, if you've got some legal means for them to get here, I don't care what the number is. It can be the craziest number,
right?
Millions of people. But it needs to be some legal thing. You know what I mean? Some way that's like a non-issue
thing. I think people get on board with that. The other thing to think about, too, is I always think about this. I have a deep admiration for the free market. I talk to these guys all the time because I love what they do. I admire what they do. And the one consistent thing they tell me, and you can substantiate this if you want, is they said the big elephant in the room with business is like the variables that aren't fixed. Like business needs to know what's coming down the pike, even if it's bad. So, like, if we are going to have 20 million immigrants coming in, it's better to know that rather than just have everything as a wild card. And so that's what the country's been for a while. And you can't have that. You can't just have just craziness. The walls are all moving, the ground's moving, the ceiling's moving. How do you predict anything? And how do you plan for anything?
Yeah, the funny thing is that I think what I've heard is not like no one can come here. It's that people need to come here legally. We have a legal way to come.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
And that's the way you need to. And even people like my brother-in-law who came here legally, and it took forever to get all the paperwork and all the way that process works. Because they're waiting. I think a lot of that legal process is to see, are you going to be a contributing member of society? If you wait 16 months from now, what are you going to be doing? Are you going to be applying for welfare, or are you going to be starting your own Quickie Mart, or are you going to be chopping wood? Are you going to be whatever it is? Are you going to be a productive? And that's what the legal process is okay. When you decide you were going to come here, you said you were going to do this, this, and this. Have you done any of those things? No, I haven't done any of those things. Okay, denied.
That's
You're
insightful,
out.
Man. That's insightful, because I've always wondered why the legal aspect is such a pain in the butt when the illegal aspect is so easy.
Subverted our law. The left, for the most part, has subverted the way that our immigration system works. They sell it as compassion.
That's exactly right. And it would be one thing too if you got, like, I always think this to myself, if you got the impression that this really was coming from this like heartfelt place, you could say, and maybe I got to rethink this, but it's become so transparent that the whole thing is just self-serving. You know what I mean? Like think about it. Let's say you're a Jose, you jump to Rodeo Grande. It's not like the Democrats are trying to make your life more comfortable. They're just trying to politically benefit from you being here. Those two things are different things. What Juan's going to do for a while is basically become a slave to the legal citizens of this country. And I know.
The left, their compassionate left is saying, oh, people don't want these jobs. People don't want the lawn care jobs, so Jose has to do it. You're essentially saying it's okay for you to enslave Jose. It's okay.
That's what I think. That's what I think. Yeah.
Since no white person wants to mow your lawn for $6 an hour, Jose is willing to do it.
Because Jose even wants to do it. He has to do it. The situation presents itself that he has to do it. So I think that's funny that's deemed compassion. But you and I both know, at least I can tell, there's a political aspect to everything, and this included. And somehow they're able to detach themselves from that in the minds of the average voter.
What it is somehow Procter & Gamble has decided that, you know what, we could really use 1.6 million illegal workers to pick lettuce and tomatoes. If we lobby hard enough to because we want to make food cheap or whatever, that's where it comes from. It's not like the guy, they always blame it on, the car dealer that's using one to wash illegal immigrant to wash his cars, or the guy that's using it as a nanny, for his kid, or the guy that has his lawn being taken care of by an illegal immigrant. No, it's huge businesses, fleets of migrant workers that go from grove to grove, getting their orange.
Which is just next level shady.